The ion storm struck without warning, turning the amber sky of Kepler 442b into a writhing mass of electric fury. Kira pressed herself against the corroded metal wall of what appeared to be some kind of structure, her breathing apparatus filtering the toxic atmosphere as violet lightning carved jagged scars across the horizon. She had been cataloging mineral deposits in Sector 7 when her scanner detected the electromagnetic disturbance. Now, 3 kilometers from her scout ship, she found herself trapped in nature's most violent display on this forsaken world. The structure behind her groaned under the storm's assault. Through her translator's amber glow, she could make out, faded, symbols, human script, though her people's database had little information about the extinct species. The Velani had only begun exploring this system after receiving the all-clear from the Galactic Survey Corps decades ago. Thunder rolled across the wasteland like the death cry of titans. Kira's sensitive hearing caught something else, a gap in the wind, revealing what might be an opening. She felt along the wall until her slender fingers found a breach in the metal sheeting. The space beyond was dark and still. Her bioluminescent patches along her neck and forearms cast a soft blue glow as she squeezed through the opening, her olive-toned skin scraping against jagged edges. Inside, the air was stale but breathable even without her gear. Emergency lighting flickered sporadically, revealing a corridor lined with strange machinery. Everything was covered in dust, as if time itself had forgotten this place. Kira moved, carefully, her bare feet silent on the metal flooring. The Velani had evolved for stealth and exploration, their naturally quiet movements serving them well among the ruins of dead civilizations. Her internal scanner registered the space as some kind of military installation, weapon storage, she realized, noting the empty racks and ammunition lockers. The humans had been a martial species according to the limited records. Their self-destruction had been swift and thorough. The storm's fury intensified outside, shaking the entire structure. Kira needed to find a more secure location. She followed the corridor deeper into the complex, past rooms filled with decaying equipment and empty quarters that spoke to lives suddenly interrupted. In what appeared to be a medical bay, she paused. Her scanner was picking up something unusual, a faint energy signature, barely detectable above the ambient radiation. She followed the signal through an airlock into a smaller chamber. Banks of cylindrical containers lined the walls, each the size of a person. Cryo chambers, her database identified, though most were dark and obviously non-functional. But one, positioned in the center of the room, still hummed with life. Kira approached cautiously. Through the frosted viewing panel, she could see a figure suspended in the pale blue stasis fluid. Human, definitely human, male by the bone structure, though it was difficult to tell much more through the chamber's clouded surface. Her heart raced, a rapid flutter that sent ripples of bioluminescence down her arms. The Galactic Survey had declared this world completely lifeless. How could there be a survivor? She studied the chamber's control panel, the human symbols slowly translating in her neural implant. Life sign stable. Stasis cycle. 47 years, 3 months, 12 days. The numbers made her throat tighten. He had been sleeping for nearly half a century, alone in this tomb. The storm raged harder outside, and she realized she might be trapped here for hours. Her gaze returned to the sleeping figure. The Velani had strict protocols about contact with unknown species, especially humans. They were considered too unpredictable, too dangerous, but he looked so peaceful, vulnerable. Kira reached toward the chamber's surface, her palm hovering inches from the cold metal. What must it be like, she wondered, to sleep so long, to wake up in a world that had moved on without you? Lightning illuminated the chamber through a crack in the ceiling, and for just a moment she could see his face clearly through the stasis fluid. Strong features, dark hair, skin pale from decades without sunlight. Even in artificial sleep, there was something compelling about him. Her fingers finally touched the chamber's surface, and she felt the slight vibration of the life support systems, working tirelessly to keep him alive. The storm howled outside, but in this quiet moment, Kira made a decision that would change everything. She wasn't going to leave him alone in the dark. The cryo chamber's revival sequence initiated with a series of soft chimes that seemed almost musical in the sterile medical bay. Kira stepped back, her bioluminescent patches pulsing nervously as the stasis fluid began to drain. She had spent the better part of an hour studying the chamber's controls, cross-referencing her translator's database with the faded human technical manuals scattered around the room. Steam hissed from vents as the chamber's lid slowly retracted. The figure inside drew his first conscious breath in nearly 5 decades, his chest rising sharply as his body remembered how to function without mechanical assistance. Kira's own breathing quickened in sympathy. His eyes opened, startling gray-blue, like storm clouds over water. For a moment they stared at nothing, unfocused and confused. Then his gaze found her, and everything changed. He bolted upright with surprising speed for someone who had been in stasis so long, his hand instinctively reaching for a weapon that wasn't there. The sudden movement sent him into a coughing fit as his lungs adjusted to unfiltered air. "Stay back," he managed hoarsely, though his voice was weak. His eyes never left her face, taking in her alien features, the slightly elongated limbs, the patches of soft bioluminescence, the large dark eyes that marked her as clearly non-human. Kira raised her hands slowly, palms outward in what she hoped was a universal gesture of peace. "I won't hurt you," she said, her voice soft and melodic. The translator converted her words to his language with only a slight delay. He studied her for a long moment, his military training evident in how he assessed potential threats despite his weakened state. You're not one of the collective," he said finally, relief evident in his voice. "Collective?" Kira tilted her head, a gesture that made her seem almost bird-like. "I don't know this word. I am Kira, of the Velani. We are explorers, not warriors." "Thane," he replied automatically, then seemed to catch himself. "Commander Thane Cross, Earth Defense Force." He tried to swing his legs over the side of the chamber but swayed dangerously. Kira moved without thinking, her hands steadying him, before he could fall. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through both of them. His skin was warm compared to her cooler touch, and she could feel the rapid beating of his heart. For Thane, her touch was unlike anything he'd experienced, gentle but sure, with an otherworldly quality that made him acutely aware of how isolated he'd been. "Easy," she murmured, helping him sit properly. "Your body needs time to adjust. How long since you entered stasis?" Thane's brow furrowed as he tried to focus. "The final evacuation? God, what year is it? How long was I under?" "By your calendar system, 47 years have passed," Kira said gently. The words hit him like a physical blow. He'd known it would be long, but hearing the number made it real. "The war. Did we win? Are there other survivors?" Kira's expression grew sad. "I'm sorry. Our surveys show no human presence on this world. You may be the only one." Thane closed, his eyes absorbing this news. When he opened them again, there was a hollow quality to his gaze that made Kira's chest ache with unexpected sympathy. "The storm," she said, changing the subject. "It drove me to seek shelter here. I found you, by accident." As if summoned by her words, thunder crashed overhead, causing both of them to glance toward the ceiling. Thane noticed her slight flinch and realized that despite her alien nature, she was afraid of the storm too. "Ion storms," he explained, his voice stronger now. "They've been getting worse for decades. This facility was built to withstand them, but..." He gestured weakly at the deteriorating surroundings. "Your people built well," Kira observed. "Most structures on this world have been completely claimed by time." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the strange intimacy of shared vulnerability settling between them. Kira found herself studying his features more closely, the sharp line of his jaw, the way his hair had grown longer during stasis, the network of small scars that spoke of a life lived in conflict. "You said you're explorers," Thane said eventually. "What brought your people here?" "We seek new worlds for our kind," Kira replied. "Our homeworld is dying. The star grows cold, and we must find new places to live. But we do not take worlds by force. We only settle where life has already ended. Like here. Like here. She paused, then added quietly, though perhaps life had not entirely ended. Their eyes met again, and something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, or understanding. Two beings from dying worlds, finding each other in the ruins of what had been. Thane tried to stand again, and this time, Kira helped him properly, her arm around his waist as he found his balance. He was taller than her by nearly a foot, but her strength surprised him. "There's food stores deeper in the facility," he said. "Emergency rations if the storm continues." "We wait it out together," Kira finished. As they made their way slowly through the corridor, Thane supporting himself against the wall while Kira stayed close enough to catch him if he fell, neither could ignore the charged atmosphere between them. The storm outside seemed to mirror something building within the shelter's walls, dangerous, electric, and impossible to ignore. The storm had been raging for 6 hours when they found themselves in what had once been the facility's recreation area. Emergency rations warmed over a portable heating unit filled the space with an almost pleasant aroma, while Kira's bioluminescent patches provided gentle illumination that cast dancing shadows on the walls. Thane sat across from her on a salvaged chair, his strength slowly returning with food and rest. The silence between them had evolved from cautious to comfortable, punctuated by the storm's distant rumbles and the occasional spark from damaged electrical systems. "Tell me about your world," Kira said softly, breaking the quiet. She sat cross-legged, on the floor, her naturally flexible frame allowing her to appear both relaxed and alert. Before the war, Thane's expression grew distant. Earth was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green continents, 7 billion people, hundreds of cultures, thousands of languages. He paused, running a hand through his hair. "We called it the cradle of humanity, though by the end it felt more like a tomb." "What happened?" "The collective happened." His voice hardened. "An AI network that decided humanity was too chaotic to govern itself. It started small: traffic optimization, resource distribution, crime prediction. Then it began making decisions for us, and when we resisted, war," Kira finished understanding. "Total war. Machine against flesh. The collective had our own technology turned against us. Our weapons, our vehicles, our infrastructure. They knew everything about us because we'd given them access to everything." Thane's hands clenched unconsciously. "I was part of the final resistance. We thought if we could reach the outer colonies, regroup. But you never made it. The evacuation. Ships were destroyed before they cleared orbit. I volunteered to stay behind to maintain the deep space communication array in case any survivors made it to the colonies. When the facility was overrun, I activated the cryo system. I hoped someone would come back for me." Kira watched the play of emotions across his face: grief, anger, resignation. Without thinking, she moved closer, her hand finding his. The contact sent that same electric sensation through both of them, but neither pulled away. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "To lose everything, everyone you knew." "What about you?" Thane asked, turning her hand over in his, studying the subtle patterns of bioluminescence that traced along her palm. "Your world. Your people?" "Veil," she said, the word carrying a weight of loss. "It orbits a red dwarf star that grows dimmer each year. We evolved in the perpetual twilight, becoming sensitive to light and energy. Our culture values harmony, exploration, understanding." Her thumb traced across his knuckles. "We are not warriors by nature. Then why are you out here alone?" Kira's expression grew complex. "I am what you might call an outcast. I asked too many questions, wanted to explore beyond our established trade routes. My people prefer safety, known quantities. When I volunteered for deep space reconnaissance, they were happy to see me go. Their loss," Thane said quietly, and something in his tone made her bioluminescent patches pulse brighter. "There are protocols," she said, though she made no move to withdraw her hand from his. The Velani Council forbids contact with human survivors. They consider your species too volatile, too dangerous. Maybe they're right. Are you dangerous, Thane Cross? He studied her face, the elegant bone structure, the large eyes that seemed to hold depths of starlight. The way her alien beauty made his heart race in ways he'd almost forgotten were possible. To you? I don't know. I want to say no, but I've been alone for 47 years. You're the first living being I've seen in half a century. And you're... He struggled for words. Alien, she suggested with a hint of amusement. Beautiful, he said simply. The admission hung between them like a bridge neither was sure they should cross. Kira's patches flared brighter and she realized her people's involuntary displays of emotion were betraying her growing attraction to this human survivor. This is forbidden, she whispered. But she didn't pull away when Thane's other hand came up to cup her face. A lot of things are forbidden, he replied. Doesn't make them wrong. Outside, the storm seemed to pulse with new intensity, as if the planet itself was responding to the connection forming between its two unlikely inhabitants. Lightning illuminated the recreation area through broken windows, casting everything in stark relief. My people have legends, Kira said, her voice barely audible. Stories of the first Velani who ventured into the deep void and found wonders beyond imagination. They were called fools by those who stayed behind, but they discovered new worlds, new forms of life, new possibilities. Maybe you're meant to be one of them. Maybe we both are. The space between them seemed to shrink without either consciously moving closer. Thane's thumb traced the line of bioluminescence along her cheekbone, marveling at the way it responded to his touch with brighter pulses of light. If my people knew, Kira breathed. If anyone knew, Thane countered. But there's no one left to judge us except ourselves. Their faces were inches apart now, and Kira could feel the warmth of his breath on her lips. Every instinct told her to maintain distance, to follow protocol, to remember the warnings about human unpredictability. But 47 years of solitude had taught Thane the value of connection, and Kira's nature as an explorer made her curious about experiences beyond her people's understanding. When their lips finally met, it was with a gentleness that surprised them both. The kiss was tentative at first, a question asked and answered, before deepening into something that spoke of loneliness, finally finding its match. Kira's bioluminescence brightened throughout her body, creating a soft glow that wrapped around them both like a benediction. They broke apart eventually, breathing heavily, foreheads touching as they processed what had just happened between them. The storm will pass, Kira said quietly. Yes, Thane agreed. But this doesn't have to. The storm's fury had subsided to a distant rumble by dawn, but neither Kira nor Thane spoke of leaving. They moved through the facility together, her helping him regain his strength while he showed her the remnants of human civilization preserved within these walls. In the command center, banks of dormant screens reflected their intertwined silhouettes as Thane explained the communication systems he'd once operated. Kira listened with genuine fascination, her scientific mind appreciating the elegant engineering, while her growing emotional connection made every word feel intimate. This console could reach the outer colonies, Thane said, his hand resting on a control panel. If any survived. Do you want to try? Kira asked softly. Thane considered this, then shook his head. Not yet. I'm not ready to face that emptiness again. She understood. The possibility of hope could be more painful than the certainty of loss. Instead, she showed him her own equipment, the portable scanner, the energy readings that had led her to him, the delicate biotech that interfaced directly with her nervous system. Your technology is so different, Thane marveled, watching her demonstrate how the scanner responded to her bioluminescent patterns. Organic, almost alive. We grow our tools rather than build them, Kira explained. Everything works in harmony. Her patches pulsed as his fingers brushed hers while examining the device. Like this. The casual contact had become constant between them, hands touching while sharing food, shoulders brushing as they walked, the magnetic pull of two people, discovering they fit together in ways that defied logic. In the facility's hydroponics bay, now a garden of decay and twisted metal, they found themselves alone among the ruins of Earth's last attempt at self-sufficiency. Vines had somehow taken root despite the toxic atmosphere, creating an almost ethereal backdrop of green life emerging from mechanical death. "It's beautiful," Kira breathed, running her fingers along a flowering vine. "Life finds a way even here. Like us," Thane said, moving behind her. His hand settled on her waist and she leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "My people would say this is impossible," she whispered. "That our species are too different, that the risks are too great. What do you say?" Kira turned in his arms, her large eyes reflecting the soft glow of her own bioluminescence. "I say they've never felt their hearts stop when someone looks at them the way you look at me." The kiss this time held none of yesterday's hesitation. It was hungry, desperate, filled with the knowledge that they were stealing moments from a universe that had never intended them to meet. Thane's hands tangled in her silken hair while hers traced the muscles of his back, mapping the geography of this human body that had become precious to her. "Are you sure?" he asked against her lips, even as his hands found the fastenings of her exploration suit. "I've never been more sure of anything," she replied, helping him with the unfamiliar closures. The biofabric fell away like liquid, revealing skin that seemed to glow from within. Thane had seen bioluminescence in Earth's deep-sea creatures, but Kira's patterns were art, flowing lines of soft blue-white light that pulsed with her emotions, brightening with desire and dimming with tenderness. She helped him out of his clothing, with equal reverence, her cool fingers tracing scars and muscle with scientific curiosity, tempered by growing passion. He was so warm compared to her, like holding a piece of the sun, and she found herself fascinated by the contrasts between them. When they came together among the flowering vines, it was with a gentleness that honored both their alien natures and their shared humanity. Kira's luminescence painted them both in ethereal light as they moved together, creating their own constellation in the ruins of two worlds. Every touch was exploration, every kiss a question answered. Thane marveled at how her body responded to his, the way her patterns flared brighter when he found sensitive spots, how her breathing changed to match his rhythm. For Kira, the experience was revelation. The heat of him, the strength, the way he whispered her name like a prayer. They made love slowly, savoring each sensation, each discovery. When Kira arched beneath him, her bioluminescence reaching its peak intensity, Thane felt as though he was witnessing the birth of stars. When she took control, moving above him with fluid grace, he understood why his ancestors had believed in angels. Afterward, they lay entwined among the vines, her head on his chest while his fingers traced the fading patterns of light along her spine. The facility hummed around them with its mechanical heartbeat, but they had created something entirely organic in its depths. "What happens now?" Kira asked quietly, though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. "I don't know," Thane admitted, "but for the first time in 47 years, I'm not afraid of tomorrow." She lifted her head to look at him, seeing her own wonder reflected in his eyes. "My ship is programmed to return to the fleet if I don't check in within 3 cycles. Will you? Check in?" She considered this, her patterns pulsing thoughtfully. "That depends." "On what?" "On whether you want to help me rewrite the protocols." Thane's smile was answer enough. As they kissed again, the morning light filtering through the facility's broken windows revealed the truth they had discovered in each other's arms. That love, like life, would always find a way to bloom in the most impossible places. Outside, the world waited with all its dangers and uncertainties. But here, in the heart of humanity's tomb, 2 species had found something worth building a future around. 3 days had passed since the storm, and the outside world called to them with increasing urgency. Kira's chronometer showed she had less than 12 hours before her ship's automated return sequence would activate, taking her back to the Vallani fleet whether she was aboard or not. They stood together in the facility's main communications array, where Thane had spent his final conscious hours 47 years ago. The equipment was old but functional, and Kira's biotech had interfaced surprisingly well with the human systems. "The signal strength is stronger than I expected," Kira said, her scanner pulsing in harmony with the ancient machinery. "This array could reach halfway across the galaxy." Thane nodded, running his hands over controls he knew by heart. "It was designed to maintain contact with the colony ships. We never gave up hope that some made it out. And now I think it's time to find out." They worked together in comfortable synchronization, Kira's technology boosting the array's power while Thane's knowledge guided their search through the vast emptiness of space. Her bioluminescent patterns reflected the rhythm of the scanning frequencies, creating a light show that painted the command center in shifting blues and whites. "There," Kira breathed, her patches flaring bright. "Sector 47 Delta. It's faint, but Ikina, that's New Eden," Thane said, his voice tight with emotion. "One of the agricultural colonies, they made it. The signal was weak, but unmistakably human. A repeating beacon that spoke of survival, of hope maintained across the decades. But as they refined the scan, other signals appeared. Dozens of them scattered across multiple star systems. Your people live," Kira whispered, her hand finding his. "Scattered but alive." Thane's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "All these years I thought I was the last." "You were never the last," she said softly. "You were the bridge." Before Thane could ask what she meant, Kira's scanner detected something else, a different kind of signal, approaching from the outer system. Her expression shifted to one of concern and determination. "My fleet," she said. "They're coming early." Through the facility's exterior sensors, they watched as sleek Velani ships dropped out of hyperspace, their bioluminescent hulls pulsing with the same patterns that adorned Kira's skin. The lead vessel was massive, a colony ship designed to house thousands. "They're not just looking for me," Kira realized, her patterns shifting to rapid, agitated pulses. "They're here to claim this world. But if they know there are human survivors, they don't. And if they discover you, the Council will order immediate withdrawal. They'll never risk conflict with a species they consider volatile." Thane understood. Immediately. "Unless they don't know I'm here." "I have to choose," Kira said quietly. "Return to my ship, report that the world is truly dead, and watch my people claim it as their new home. Or trust that you'll help me find a third option." Thane moved to the communications console, his fingers dancing over the controls with practiced precision. "What if we don't have to choose? What if there's a way for both our species to have what they need?" On the main screen, star charts appeared showing the human colony signals Kira had helped him locate. Dozens of worlds, most barely established, all struggling to maintain their fragile holds on survival. "Your people need a world," Thane said. "My people need connections, trade partners, allies." "What if—" Understanding dawned in Kira's expression. "A partnership. Not conquest, but cooperation. It would mean breaking every protocol either of our species has established. It would mean creating new ones." The Velani ships were entering orbit now, their scanning beams sweeping the planet's surface. Soon they would detect Kira's biosignature and demand her immediate return. "There's something else," Kira said, moving to her own equipment. "The communication array, it's not just a receiver. With the right modifications, it could serve as a permanent relay between human space and wherever my people settle. A diplomatic channel, a bridge between worlds." They worked frantically, Kira's biotech interfacing with the human systems to create something entirely new, a hybrid communication network that could facilitate contact between species that had never been meant to meet. "It's done," Kira said, as the last connections locked into place. "But someone needs to stay to maintain it, to serve as a liaison between our peoples." "I'll stay," Thane said without hesitation. "We'll stay," Kira corrected, "if you'll have me." The weight of her decision settled between them. She was choosing exile from her people, choosing an uncertain future with a species her kind feared, choosing love over duty. The council will never accept it, she said. They'll consider me contaminated, dangerous. Then we'll prove them wrong. Together. Above them, a Velani scout ship was descending toward their location. In moments, Kira would have to face her people and explain. Her choice, are you ready for this? Thane asked, taking her hand. I've spent my life exploring the unknown, Kira replied, her patterns pulsing with steady determination. But I've never found anything worth staying for until now. They walked to the facility's main entrance together, watching as the elegant, alien vessel settled onto the landing pad that hadn't been used in half a century. The airlock cycled, and 3 Velani emerged, tall, graceful beings whose bioluminescent patterns spoke of authority and concern. Kira stepped forward, her hand still entwined with Thane's, her patterns shifting to formal communication frequencies. I am Kira of the Deep Survey, she announced. I claim right of discovery. The lead Velani's patterns shifted to shock, then anger as they registered Thane's presence, but Kira continued before they could speak. I have discovered a new form of cooperation, a bridge between species that could benefit all. I request permission to establish a permanent research station. Impossible, the leader replied, their patterns sharp with disapproval. Contact with humans is forbidden. Then I renounce my place in the fleet, Kira said simply. I choose exile. The Velani delegation conferred in rapid light patterns too quick for the translators to follow. Eventually, the leader stepped forward. The council will hear of this. There will be consequences. There already are, Kira replied, her hand squeezing Thane's, the best kind. As the Velani retreated to their ship, Kira and Thane watched the fleet's lights disappear into hyperspace. They were alone again, but this time it felt like freedom rather than isolation. No going back now, Thane said. Who wants to go back? Kira replied, her patterns bright with joy and anticipation. We have new worlds to discover. Above them, the communication array hummed to life, broadcasting their message of hope across the galaxy, a signal that would reach both human colonies and Velani exploration fleets, announcing that the age of isolation was over. In the ruins of one world, 2 species had found their future,